Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am going to be taking this doll apart and changing out her body. Now this is the Emma kit, the Emma sculpt by Natalie Scholl. She was a custom for me by Natalie Vetrova, and this is the original body that comes with the kit, which is fine. It seems to fit her pretty nicely, but I like a little bit more of a narrow chest, and this one just, I don't know, I'm just not really feeling the body. I have had another Emma and I changed her body out for a Bountiful Baby body, and this is the body that I'm going to be using by Bountiful Baby. And it's the recommended body for the JC. That is the number, and you can purchase it at Bountiful Baby. So this is the recommended body for the JC kit, one of their Reborn kits. And JC, once he's assembled, according to the description and the information provided by Bountiful Baby, he's supposed to be an 18-inch baby, and this body is good for an 18 or 19-inch doll by Bountiful Baby. But their bodies are so well made, they're pretty universal for a lot of full-limbed dolls. So this is a full-limb doll, and Emma is a full-limb doll. So I'm going to take her apart and just kind of show you guys what it looks like. I know that there still are, there's new people to the community all the time, new collectors, and they're really intimidated by taking their dolls apart. And honestly, I have to say, a little bit of tough love here. You guys have to get acclimated or used to taking your dolls apart right away. If you're going to be a part of, if you're going to be a serious collector and you love dolls, you came into this hobby already loving dolls, it's really a necessary skill. And it's not even like a very hard skill to learn. I think once you do it one time, that's it. You're over the fear of it and you just have to do it. Personally, the reason I had to learn to unassemble my doll, it was not by choice. I had a doll and the leg fell off. I had no zip ties, none of these zip ties right here. I had no zip ties, and I had no idea how to take one apart or put it together, and it was really intimidating for me when I would look at it, but I was forced to learn how to do it. So I really recommend that this is something you should just be comfortable with. Of course, be careful. Have some of the tools available that you're gonna need, starting with zip ties. These little thin zip ties. I went to Home Depot to try to find these types of ties, but they don't make them as thin as the ones I can find at doll dealer or doll suppliers. So I would recommend to be a supporter of the Reborn doll community and buy these from a doll dealer. Dolls by Sandy, McPherson's, Bountiful Babies. There's a lot of doll dealers in America, in North America, and Europe, and wherever you are, you'll find a doll dealer. So even Australia, everywhere. Have your zip ties. The dolls are stuffed with different types of stuffing. Here's a basic cluster fill. So this is this is Polyfill, cluster fill. Cluster is falls apart a little bit more, but this is your traditional Polyfill. Okay, have some of that. You can buy that at Michael's, or like I said, you can support your the doll community and buy them from dealers. So another thing you're gonna need a tool is you can use a basic nail clipper to clip. If you need to take your doll apart, you're gonna need one of these to cut the zip ties, to unclip it and to cut any excess zip tie. And there's other things you can use. There's belly fat pellets. Now these are like little silicone pellets. Here, let me show you that I have open already. They're sticky. I like them. I use them on some of my dolls. This is what they look like. These are little silicone. I would never recommend putting these loose inside the body because you don't want any silicone to make contact with vinyl. It just has a reaction that I've heard it's not good for either the silicone or the vinyl. So you're going to need stockings, and I have some here. Now, a lot of people buy stockings from from like Target or the store, like pantyhose, but I think that those are too thin. Because one of the other things we fill our dolls up with is, I'm going to show it to you right now, is granulated, looks kind of sugary. This is the granulated glass that weighs our dolls down. That's what gives them the realistic weight, the realistic feeling. So this is what weighs them down. If you get one of those cheapy pantyhose, it'll hold it, but it'll constantly be dusty and it'll seep through. I feel like those cheapy pantyhose are just too porous. I like to buy a nice thicker stocking. You can see this one's thick. So I buy these from Bountiful Baby. I don't mess around trying to hunt them down or look for them. I'm sure you can find them at the 99-cent store, Target, Walmart, but just try to get some thick ones so that the granulated glass doesn't seep through them. You don't want to put them in anything that's too porous. The same thing with the silicone, those pellets that I just showed you that we call baby fat pellets. Contain them in something. I also put them in a stocking. Now for this one, you can put them in a thinner stocking. It could be porous because they're thick. They're not gonna get all dusty and sandy and pour right through it. So those are some of the materials that we use on the inside. There are other options. I don't use these. They're heavier, so you can use less of these to get the same effect as more granulated glass. But these are metallic. And I wouldn't recommend them for like shipping a doll international or anything like that because they're metallic. So, I mean, if you're just keeping your doll here, you can use them. The plus side of these metal beads, well, one that I don't like is that they're magnetic, but something plus about them is that you don't need to use as much of them to weight your doll. So that'll allow you to use more stuffing and cluster fill to make them softer. So let's take this doll apart. And you're gonna wanna be careful right here not to cut the cloth. See, I like my handy little tool. You can use a nail clipper, but I use a cable cutter, wire cutter. I snagged this one from my dad's tool shed. Excuse me. And I'm gonna zoom in here. This is tricky to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this on camera. I've done these before on camera, but they're really tricky. So I'm gonna zoom in right there so you guys can see. Make sure you don't have any of the cloth, and I'm just going to clip. Now with this doll, I'm not really changing any of her weighting because I pretty much have her how I want her. And you'll see how I constructed her on the inside. You're going to take out the excess cable ties. So as you can see, there are her legs. Look at those little bent legs. Nothing nicer than showing the doll's details up close than when you have them unassembled. Look at the veining and just all the beautiful details on this doll. This is a master artist, Natalie Vetrova. All right. Okay, so I took her legs off. Now let's do the same with the arms. Again, you want to be careful not to clip the cloth or cut on the vinyl. This is why I like this pointy tool. And now we're going to do this last arm. Look at that arm. Love that hand. Look at those nail beds. Just realistic. Okay, so now for the guillotine. My little Marie Antoine. So look at her. And I can hold her head up close. Take advantage of the opportunity that I have her unassembled, and you guys can look at her details super close. Look at that. I love this pointy ear right here. So gorgeous. This is some master artist work right here. Look at those eyebrows. Love this girl. That swirl. Beautiful mono and micro rooted hair. But let's get back to, let's not get distracted by my little Marie Antoine's hair. And okay, so like I said, I had already reweighed this doll from the original state that she came in. She was weighted beautifully. It was just too heavy for me. And weighting is such a personal detail. It's such a, weighting in this community, weighting our dolls is very personal. Some like it light, some like them super heavy. Everybody distributes their weight differently. I've never had one doll the same as the other. All artists will weigh their dolls differently. I love the way she was weighted, but I didn't want her to be so heavy. So I went in and, you know, redid her weighting. Now with her, because I liked the effect of the loose beads, the loose granulated glass, this stuff, it's really powdery though, that the artist used inside of her, I wanted to keep that similar effect, but just take some of the weight out of it. So instead of having it loose just contained within the cloth body, I decided to get a little bag and emulate the weighting that was originally just loose in the cloth, try to emulate it here inside of this little bag. So you can use something to contain the weight and the polyfill in there. You see the polycluster and fill within your doll. Just make sure it's not porous, because if you're using very granulated glass, you can see it's really messy. That was one of the reasons why, another reason why I didn't really want to do this on camera, was because of how messy that process is. And you get like those granulated glass just everywhere. With this girl, look at, I contained some silicone in a little bag. I didn't want it loose, but I may actually put this back in loose. I did a couple layers here. So here's my polyfill. Oops, and as I can see the glass beads already. This artist used, I just used the same materials she did. Reuse them. I don't know if you can see that. Oops, these are like little balls. So these are actually larger. Let me grab a little handful. These are actually larger than the granulated glass, that Bountiful Baby stuff I was showing you. I actually prefer these ones because they're not so powdery, because that powdery stuff, these are smaller. I don't know if you can see it from here. These are actually more sandy, and these are more roly-poly kind of balls, okay? Roly balls. I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm just going to take this out through her neck, because I don't want to have to refill all of that. But I do hope that you guys understand what I did here. So there's a little sack inside of her cloth body, and I'm not going to use this cloth body. And I'll lay the two cloth bodies next to each other so you can have something to compare it to. I can hear the little beads still dropping out everywhere. I'm telling you, the worst part about changing your doll's body out, or, you know, taking a doll apart, is the glass beads. That makes it a very messy process. And I could see right here, and I don't want to waste any of them. I can hear them falling on the floor. So let me put some of these back. So this is the new body I'm going to put on Emma. Oops, I could still hear those beads falling out there. And this is the body, the original body she came with. Another feature with the Bountiful Baby body, this is the Bountiful Baby body right here, is how they've sewn this here in the middle part. You see that stitching? I like that shape. So it's another reason why I like the Bountiful Baby body. This one doesn't have it. This one has a gathered chest, gathered bum, but that's it. They don't add any type of shape to it the way Bountiful Baby does. So, and it's a little bit more of a narrow body too. This one's wider. Let me see. Yeah, so we're gonna do our best here. Since I have, usually what you would do is you would start a layer of like polyfill down here at the bottom, enclose, get one of your stockings like this, and fill it with belly fat if you want, or you can fill it with, do you hear that? That's the granulated glass, or fill it with this stuff. Okay, so that was just pre-done so I can show you how you would just pour it in there. I have a little makeshift, handmade, homemade funnel that helps pour. You would always put the stocking, once you filled it with a little bit of polyfill at the bottom, you would put the stocking in, and you can start pouring. You can put this like that, and that way you can start pouring the glass in there, feeling it little by little to see the weight and see at what point you'll stop filling the glass. Remember that the arms, you hear that? That has granulated glass in it, are also filled with weight. They're also weighted, okay, as are the legs. So just don't overdo the torso, because the torso is not the only thing that's going to be carrying weight. There's going to be weight in the legs and the arms as well, okay? Oh, I got it. I got it in there. There we go. So I have the beads loose in there and they seem to fit just fine. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stuff this with a little, I'm gonna add the polyfill back in that I took out. I've put a little bit of polyfill in there. And like I said, this is always going to be like, I'm constantly, like I get new dolls and I'm constantly experimenting with weighting and, you know, seeing what feels good and trying new products and then talking about it here so that you guys could know too. But I'm gonna use these belly fat pellets because I love the way they feel. I'm putting these somewhere in the center. They'll also give her a little bit of structure, not too much, but at least they're squishy. And then, because I made her head pretty heavy, or it feels pretty heavy, I didn't really mess with the weight. I actually took weight out of it from what the artist did because she was a lot heavier. And now I'm just gonna top it off with the polyfill because in this little sack that I have. So that's what I'm going to do here, and I'm just going to close that. So pretty much everything that I took out of the old body, I liked the way it felt, so I'm keeping that. And I'm going to close this. Okay, so I have her with the loose in there. I mean, you're never really going to know how it feels until you put the doll together, but I think I like the way she is right now. So, okay. So originally you're going to want to put the cable ties through the body. I have these ones. Bountiful Baby always ships, you have options. You can buy a body with just the thread, which I probably should have done. Or you can buy the body and they send you the 4 cable ties plus an extra one. But, what you're gonna do And somebody had wanted to see this up close. These ones were already in there, so I'm gonna show you guys on this body. So here's your zip tie. I buy the 14-inch. I've made the mistake and bought the 8-inch ones before, and those are really hard to work with unless you're working with like a micro preemie or anything smaller than a newborn, or if it's just for the arms, because you need this excess right here in order to then tighten it. And then once you get it adjusted the way you like the arms to move, and you don't want it too tight because you still need to have the arms still need to be able to move. And I'll show you guys in a little bit what I mean about that. But here's the tip of the cable tie. Here is the head, if you guys can see the way it's shaped. Let me show that to you. Okay, and you're gonna want for this tip to meet the flat end, this flat backside. You see how it's flat? And this one's it's ridged right here. So you want the end of the cable tie to meet the back of the flat back of the cable tie, okay? So I'm going to, it's gonna be this way. So just make sure you eyeball that. Then you're gonna put it through these little slits that they have in the bodies. Sometimes it gets a little stuck or snagged. And as you can see, it came out the other end and it matches up right with the back of that. I always start with the legs. So I've got the leg, I'm gonna put it in here. And you see, do you see this ridge right here? This is where the cable tie inside of the cloth will hold on to. It'll tighten around that. So you're gonna put, oh, this one's a little bit wonky. Okay, I had to make sure it was all facing the right way. So first I'm gonna put the zip tie that pointed on the back, the flat back, and tighten it a little bit so that I could get the leg in there. I'm only gonna tighten this a little bit, just enough to hold it so that it doesn't fall out. You don't wanna start tightening it yet. That slow adjustment process you're going to do slowly, little by little, as you adjust the limbs. So I'm going to do the same, or repeat the same process here. Going to make sure the back pointed part matches up with the flat back. I'll tighten that a little bit, enough to just fit that part right here. You see how that's gonna go right around the groove, this little groove. This cloth is it's gonna fit right in there. And I'm not gonna make it tight, just enough to hold so that the legs are held on. Oh, see, that one's falling right out. Maybe I'll do this one a little bit tighter. I just want it to hold on right now while I attach the other limbs. Okay, so I have the limbs attached, although they're very loose. It'll be a very slow adjustment to tighten it slowly. You don't want to just pull that zip tie quickly and then you find that you pulled it so tight that now you cannot move the limbs up and down. So right now they're pretty loose, but that's okay because I'm going to adjust it slowly to the way that I like it. Tight enough to hold the arm in. This one looks good, but not tight enough where you can't move the arm up and down or twist the arm. Okay, and this arm is very important to twist because I'm gonna wanna put that in her mouth. Same with the legs. Oops, see, this one's still really loose. You wanna make it tight enough. Take your time with this part because you don't want to, I'm gonna push that cloth back. What you don't wanna do here, you wanna avoid making it so tight where the leg won't even move around. Okay, so I like the way this one is right here. See, I already like the way this body the legs can cross over. I like the way the legs cross over better on this than, it may take you a couple zip ties, a couple of tries, because I've had it when you're trying to perfect this part, learning this part, it can be tricky. You may run through a couple cable ties, so make sure you have more than just one cable tie. I'm going to remove I'm going to clip the excess. Just kidding. With Bountiful Babies bodies, they have the zip tie opening on the side of the neck. That's just the way this body comes. Some of them are in the back of the neck. Okay, so remember that effect that I told you, that you kind of want to weight your babies so that their head falls a little bit. So she's got a little bit of a floppy effect. You see that? So there you are, guys. That's how you put this doll together. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about the process. Let me know if you have any tips, because I could always use some tips as well.